Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Energy and Environment Committee. We have a number of cards for general public comment, members, but I'd like for us to go ahead and take items 1 through 7 on consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that will be the order. Let me take cards first, Mr. Koretz, and then we'll take items 8, 9, and 10. Is that okay with you? All right, great. So the first speaker is Antonia Ramirez.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, could you give me the information to speak on?
We're gonna, yeah. So you're speaking, you've got 3 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you are going to speak on items 8, 9, and 10.
Does that include public comments?
That includes public comments. You have 3 minutes on items 8, 9, and 10.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Number 8, we hope that the water supply coming from the Department of Water and Power will be fresh, clean, and amoeba and bacteria-free. We also hope that the City and Department of Water and Power will do their internal water flushing at correct and timely intervals to prevent water stagnation and bacteria outbreaks. Furthermore, we need to stop hiring illegal wetbacks and Chango Latino gangbangers with other third world ghetto who have no concept of hygiene, sanitation, cleanliness, neatness, and compliance for all welfare, health, and safety code regulations. Disastrously, most of them don't even wash their hands after using the toilet. Yuck. They are the first to contaminate the food and beverages. They simply don't care how they handle the food. We are talking of innocent lives, whether in the plane eating their food and or the LAX multiple restaurants where they get infected with E. coli or other staph infections that lodge inside their guts because these felon workers fail to wash their hands and the big fat cats want to cut corners. So please hire military veterans. Lastly, and make sure LAX World Airports that all our pre-flight and post-flight pilots, co-pilots, and engineers get free food and beverages, that their choice at the choice of food and restaurants, and check into the best hotels. Also, all pilots, i.e. law enforcement chopper pilots, LAPD, and sheriff's pilots, media paparazzi, Department of Water Power, all utility pilots, including my beloved Gillespie Daredevil pilots extraordinaire, will get 50% off all restaurants and hotel and motels and all LAX throughout all world airports. Remember, pilot safety is a priority. Bon voyage and bon appetit. And I guess I'll start with public comments. Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no one more capable, knowledgeable, and efficient and hands-on than our brilliant and supreme, outstanding Commander-in-Chief, Donald Trump, El Jefe, and the great Moses of America. Yes, there is hope in America. He will maximize America's energy, and he will purge, clean, purify, and flourish our sacred American environment. But first, he must clean house, as he is already doing. He has fired the FBI Director, James Comey. Now he needs to overhaul the CIA, NSA, Department of Treasury, and all sanctuary city mayors and governors, and all unethical pandering pussies. Moreover, God bless Attorney Alan Dershowitz, who said, and I quote, "The President of the United States can legally fire the head of the FBI for any and all reasons, and no impeachable offenses here." Attorney Alan Dershowitz, I had the pleasure of studying Judaism under the senior Dershowitz, your uncle. That was many years ago. God bless the First Lady. God bless Melania and President Donald Trump and all their family. God bless our beloved United States military. And God bless my daredevil pilots extraordinaire. And God bless America. Thank you.
Ms. Ramirez, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Herman. Herman, you're speaking on items 1 through 10, and general public comment. You have 3 minutes.
Right, ma'am. I'd just like to note for the record, I submitted a card on every item, as most of you will always state for the record.
I said 1 through 10. That's all the items.
All right, ma'am. But since we're on item 8 regarding the Los Angeles World Airports, and we're talking about how Weezar and Koretz under item 11-1678/S Sucker 1s regarding the Department of Water Power comply with the city's good food purchasing guidelines. Well, don't we need guidelines for purchasing the appropriate foods that we need? I would say so. Wouldn't you? Salmonella and all these other infectious diseases that people catch nowadays because doesn't have a guidelines to the new concession agreements. Now, if I were to trust involving food and beverage services, I would find that a malicious lie because all Mr. Koretz knows how to do is eat, like me, we eat. And it's not our job to regulate what the FDA or HAA or whatever fucking stupid government agency is protecting my rights from getting sick, but that's another issue regarding the innovation of grants. And then in my closing item on number 9, another faggot, Bonin, relative to Angels Harbor Department, fuck the department on preferable purchasing policies. The fuck preferable? Just say you want something that's going to go your way. Your way or nowhere, get the highway. Isn't that what you told Mr. Spindler today? But that's not on topic. Irrelevant. And then item 10, the hell with it. Now on to my general public comment. It was a great day today in the LAPD's police permit review panel. Yes, we got to reflect on the valley. Yeah. Fantasy Island at 11434 West Pico Boulevard in Los Angeles. We talked about the anatomical, cafe entertainment and show adults. Don't we all like adult shows? I would say so, because I brought up about Sam's Club on Washington and Deja Vu that Jose Huizar puts in your communities. To fuck it up with more strip clubs, lap dances, and bitches that wear tight, bright colors and want to dance around on a pole. So if that's the type of attraction you want me to believe in, you're fucked up. And now going into my closing argument, in public comment, I referred to Lieutenant Cadera as a racist because he was simply saying to me I couldn't attend a public meeting. Well, guess what? I attended the police fucking commission meeting, and I was there.
Next speaker, Wayne Spindler. You're speaking on items 1 through 10 in general public comment, 3 minutes.
Yes, yes, I agree. The flushing of the toilets needs to begin. And what is this? We got the La Noria water wheel. What do you need a fucking water wheel for? I mean, you guys, the job of you guys, well, the nerve of you people, you raise the rates so you can do this extracurricular stupid shit like this that makes absolutely no sense to put it in the backs of ratepayers. Ratepayers are being raped by this commission, by this committee, by this city council, because all of these other utility companies are cutting the water rates, lowering rates, while you people sit there and do a 20% increase ahead of time and voted for 5 years. Fuck that. And then we got this water contract at number 5 with some bullshit that we're going to have application tools. We don't want application tools. Lower the fucking rates. That's all we want from you. We want to turn the light switch on, the light switch off, turn on the water, turn the water off, and we want to see our rates go down. You guys don't pay a nickel in taxes on the DWP because it's a nonprofit, municipal-owned water and electric company. That you guys steal $200 to $300 million fucking dollars a year and you call it a transfer. You're telling the federal government you make an 8% profit and that's an overage. That's fucking ridiculous. So the goddamn thing, you could lower our rates 15% and slash the union contracts to reflect that, but you won't do it because you guys got to overpay for labor, you got to overpay for water wheels. Meanwhile, we're sitting here getting drowned by 20% rate increases just to paper over your defective budgetary system. So now I go to this general public comment. We went over to police permit review panel that does strip club permits, and yes, they have toilets and water. And I told them in CD6, we got a pimp working in CD6 that's sitting there opening up dance clubs around schools and around children, and then they're going, what do you mean? And so I have a public service message audio. Nuri's a pimp. Come on, Nuri's a pimp. And so now it's starting to catch on. So next time you go to the police permit review panel and they try to slide those projects down the throats, these dance clubs, these karaoke clubs, now they're going to watch out because they know CD6 is on the watch list, that we got a pimp working out of CD6 and it needs to stop.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Claire Fox. Are you here? I thought I saw you come in. Hi, Claire. Followed by Joan Liu. Do you both want to come up? I can take you both at the same time. We just have one speak. You want to go first?
Sure.
But Joan can also.
Oh, Joanne.
Joanne. Is that what it is?
I'll go first.
Sorry, Joanne.
Yes.
So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay. You have
3 minutes.
You have 1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute. Okay. Thank you so much, council members, for continuing to monitor the progress of the good food purchasing policy. I want to acknowledge Councilmember Koretz as the original author of this policy. Councilmember O'Farrell, you've been very involved as well, and Councilmember Martinez, you did this at LUSD, so you're very familiar with this policy. Since the city and the school district took action on sustainable, healthy, fair food for all in 2012, this program has exploded across the country. And a couple years ago, my organization, the LA Food Policy Council, helped create the National Center for Good Food Purchasing. The center acts as a third-party verifier for institutions providing data assessments and providing a star rating from 1 to 5 stars. This is much like how the U.S. Green Building Council does LEED certification. So currently, the Center for Good Food Purchasing is working with 15 cities and school districts across the country, which is something that I think as Angelinos we should be very proud about. So thank you for your ongoing monitoring. We encourage you to continue to ask for these sort of report backs from departments. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Joanne Lowe, co-director of the Food Chain Workers Alliance. It's a national coalition of workers' organizations in the food system. We work closely with the LA Food Policy Council on GFPP as well as with the Center for Good Food Purchasing. And just to echo Claire, since the city of LA was the first to adopt GFPP, we've gotten a lot of interest around the country. Last year, San Francisco Unified and Oakland Unified also adopted GFPP. This year, we expect the city of Chicago and Chicago Public Schools to also adopt the program, and so the city of LA has really led the way in procuring good food and putting our values where our tax money is. So I want to thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Colleagues, that's all the cards I have for any of the items before us, including general public comment, so I will close public comment as well. And I'd like to take items 1 through 7 on consent without objection. That will be the order. Mr. Koretz, are you ready for item 8? I think we can do item 8 by itself, and then we can take up items 9 and 10 together, if that's okay with you?
Sure.
Okay. Do you want to lead us, go ahead and read that into the record, item
Sure,
8?
Madam Chair. Item number 8 relates to motion Koretz-Huizar, relative compliance with the city's good food purchasing guidelines. So you have staff from the 3 proprietary departments.
And yeah, I think we have reports from LAWA and the harbor.
The department here? Okay.
I don't know if DWP still has anything relevant because it was based on their cafeteria, which now has no concessionaire for a while. I would note that this policy has had a pretty good spread across the country. As was noted, we got some great help from our current chair to get LAUSD on board, and we have a number of cities and school districts across the country and growing. I think the problem is that I think we're not doing as well as we could here in the original city, which is Los Angeles. So the question is, how could we go from the bare minimum 15% one-star compliance to a higher rating and a higher level of involvement? And that would be true for all of you as you give your reports.
So Wendy Yancey with Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. Councilman, as you did mention, we haven't had a cafeteria at the department since the summer of 2015. And we don't have an RFP out now to actually replace it. However, I want to assure you that when we do have an RFP out to replace it, we will incorporate the good food policy going forward.
Tricia Carey, I'm the Director of Contracts and Purchasing for the Harbor Department. We also have a cafeteria at the port that serves about 400 employees. The cafeteria is in compliance with the good food policy and was submitting quarterly reports under the prior mayoral administration. But since then, we have not been asked to submit reports, but they are in compliance with the first baseline that was set when the policy was adopted.
And Mark Adams, Los Angeles World Airports, have a slightly longer report. LAWA does not really procure food. When we talk about LAX or any airport, what we're talking about is concessions and, to a lesser extent, airline lounges. LAWA, when the policy came out, LAWA carefully considered how to implement the recommendations and how we would best craft a program at LAX when we're, for the most part, dealing with tenants, not with our own departmental purchases. LAX is the second busiest airport in the country right now with over 80 million passengers, and last year our food and beverage sales of our concessionaires was approximately $317 million. So we're talking about a lot of product being purchased there. Our tenants, though, rely on a reliable business environment, and any new rules for food procurement would impact their operating environment and their costs. So we considered a board policy to make this a requirement in any new concession RFPs, but that, after thinking about it, would take too long to get through the airport in terms of penetration, a very lengthy cycle. We considered a board policy that would renegotiate the existing agreements, but that would have also taken a very long time and would have probably not been 100% successful. So in the end, what we decided to do was have a dialogue with all the concession operators and airline lounge operators to try to get them to voluntarily adopt the program and to get on board. So I'm happy to report that as of last year, all 7 direct concessionaires, food and beverage concessionaires at LAWA, all 15 Westfield managed concessionaires, and all 13 lounges are voluntarily in compliance with the Good Food policy and are preparing their quarterly reports for the Food Policy Council and the Mayor's office. And food at LAX is not, our food programs are not limited to the procurement side. In addition to the Good Food policy, in 2012 we launched what we call the LAX Harvest Food Donation Program, where we're working with our tenants. At first it was HMS Host, but later we added Hudson Group, where all were prepackaged, unsold, high-quality food items would be donated through local organizations. As of last year, in 2015, we donated over 100,000 food items, over 70,000. It was 69,000 pounds of food, unused food product, to local organizations that were in need. Last month, with the Bureau of Sanitation, we launched a cooperative program where a select number of food venues in Terminals 7 and 8, food waste recycling program, where we were going to be separating out the food product that was the waste food product and shipping it off using Bureau of Sanitation to a contractor, CR&R Environmental Services, who is doing converting the food to natural gas fuel and to an organic fertilizer as well. And so I think we've got some good food programs going on at LAX. I think we're happy that we've got all the concessionaires and the airline lounges on board with the Good Food policy now, and we look forward to continuing that work.
Well, I'm glad to hear that we've had that much success on a voluntary basis. So do we know where we are roughly in terms of our ratings and our effectiveness in these two departments?
We send our contract, the concessionaires and whatnot send their sheets, their worksheets, to the Food Policy Council, and I have not seen the scores back from our concession operators, but look forward to look forward to getting that information and then working with them to hopefully bring those numbers up if that's something we can do.
And how about your department?
I haven't, as far as I know, we haven't been asked to report quarterly. We only have one contract for our concession that operates our food cafeteria at the main building. And there's a policy laid out within the agreement that calls for certain types of grains, vegetables to be served at our port pantry. The last report I saw was under the prior administration. I put the agreement together. I'm not the administrator of the contract, but as far as I know, we have not been asked to report quarterly, and those templates were coming from the prior administration.
And I wonder, I know we have folks from LA Food Policy Council. I wonder if we could ask them about how the processing of your information is going. Maybe you could come up.
Sure, I would be happy to clarify. So as I mentioned in my comments, the Center for Good Food Purchasing is the spin-off organization that now serves as the third-party verifier. So it's true that we continue to play a liaison role because we're here on the ground in Los Angeles. We're obviously huge champions of this policy. We know that it's a game changer. But in terms of the actual processing of the data and the star rating specifically, I would defer that to the Center for Good Food Purchasing, so perhaps it would be worthwhile to have them come and give a report on that.
And so they're not present here today?
No.
Okay. So, all right, so I guess we should definitely get that information and find a source for that information so we can tell how we're doing at LAWA. So, thank you.
Okay, is there anything else? Did you want to ask for a report back, or?
Well, I have a motion, which is the baseline of this purchasing program to achieve a one-star rating is 15% of food purchases. And obviously, I think we should shoot for a higher number than that. So I'd like to move that we approve the motion relative to requesting the proprietary departments to comply with the city's good food purchasing guidelines and request that the currently applicable departments and DWP, when it becomes applicable at a later point. But for now, the other two departments report on the compliance, their status of their compliance in 90 days, and report annually on step improvements towards the goal of a 5-star rating within the purchasing program. I'd also like report backs on options on the percentage of step improvements that might be possible annually, say 3%, 5%, and perhaps a specific goal year like 2025. And I'd also like to get a report back from the Center for Food Policy on their data processing of the LAWA information.
Okay, I'm happy to second that. Are there any objections? Any further questions?
No, Madam Chair, I just want to note just some of the existing, I think, good practices that have been enacted with, I think, this current council. This will be the 4th summer in a row that we're partnering with LAUSD at our Recreation and Parks facilities. So we're growing that in terms of the good food purchasing guidelines. And also, with the summer lunch program. Also, our work with the Department of Aging on all of their senior meal distribution and the senior centers and recreation centers is something that work on the committee that I chair. And then lastly, the LA Zoo. On my visits to the zoo, years ago I noticed the unhealthful food offerings for thousands of school kids year-round. So when we renegotiate those concessionaires, we're going to insist upon the good food purchasing guidelines as well. So I think we have a lot of opportunity across the board.
It's a really good idea.
And I think if we pay special attention to our seniors and our youth, and just keep underscoring the importance of nutritional food options. And without it, then we're a less healthy society. So this is a great policy for us to push across the board, and I'm happy to see this.
I have a quick question. Does anyone know if the GRID program over the summer purchases any food? Do they provide meals for the young people? Because I know it's run out of our parks, but I don't know if we provide any nutritional food, or is it just snacks that someone just like does a Costco run, or what is there?
I think
Does anybody know?
it's the Costco run style, from what I understand, but I think that's a great point. We could,
What other, can we look into that maybe?
I think there's an ad
Sarah
hoc,
can help us
I
with
think there's an ad hoc approach to providing food for the GRID
Because I know we
programs.
do provide,
It's always burgers and dogs.
is that what they do?
Right.
Okay.
That's in my part.
That's what I remember.
Yeah,
All right, maybe I thought I saw an
I would be
opportunity.
happy to look into that.
yeah,
I was pushing for more nutritional food at least.
with the occasional burger or dog. Occasionally.
Kosher dog. Is there anything else, members? No, seeing none, okay, then that would be the order. And so we're going to go ahead, Mr. Koretz, like I said, take items 9 and 10 together.
And before we start, I'd like, for the record, to point out that we have two individuals in the audience, Mr. Herman and Mr. Spindler, who have been constantly snorting, gesturing, doing whatever they can to distract, and they certainly have distracted
Thank you
me
for
as
pointing that
usual.
out. Sergeants, can you just keep an eye on these two individuals for us? Thank you. We're going to go ahead and take up item 9 and 10.
Item number 9 and 10. Item number 9 relates to DWP report, Harbor Department report, as well as response to motion correspondent relative to compliance with the city's environmentally preferable purchasing policy, and number 10 relates to sanitation report on that matter.
Good afternoon. Do you want to go first?
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Solacek from Los Angeles Water and Power, and we have Alina Cummings from LA Water and Power in our IT division. If you'd like us to, we can cover number 9 first for DWP.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Let's
Okay.
take up 9 first and go in order, yeah.
So I'll just cover some of the main points and then turn it over to Alina to talk about our customer billing, what DWP has done. So the Board of Water and Power Commissioners formally adopted the EPP policy in late 2014. Since then, we've been implementing the policy through our various procurement activities and operations. One of the major elements is we've incorporated into our contract administration training EPP guidelines. So all new contract administrators are trained on EPP requirements. So it's one way we're trying to internalize it within the organization. We also conduct office supply fairs at the John Ferraro building. Last year, we had over 800 employees attend the fair. As part of our LEED certification for the John Ferraro building for the 50th anniversary, we reevaluated our green cleaning supplies at the facility, and one of the changes that we made is essentially eliminate detergents being used for cleaning floors and carpets. We use essentially a water technology that's charged, no detergents at all for our custodians. One other item that isn't directly on EPP, but there's a component to it, is the Mayor's Save Energy LA plan last year had a goal of reducing facility, or actually citywide, energy consumption by 5%. We implemented our facility as a plan to go back and look at what we can do for lighting retrofits, HVAC upgrades, and just general behavior changes of shutting off lights, and we achieved a 9% savings over the summer before. One of probably the critical things right now is that we've been looking at is customer billing. And Alina can cover more details, but that's been a large component that we've been looking at in terms of reducing the amount of non-recyclable material that we use. So I'll turn it over to Alina.
Good afternoon. After the motion for the recycled paper, we did an extensive research with vendors and industry specialists, and we concluded that 10% recycled is the highest number that's acceptable with our equipment and the paper processing or bill print processing that we have. We tested 10% recycled. We are happy to report that we will be using 10% recycled for all our bill prints starting July of this year.
And this represents, it's 2 million, or how many? It's 150,000 per month, right? So there's quite a bit of mail going through. So, and the other thing I didn't add is all our letterhead to paper and just general paper we've converted over to 30% post-consumer waste. In our letter that we submitted to you, we said once we would run out of our letterhead paper, we would switch over actually with a new commissioner. As of now, we've changed all letterhead paper out to 30% post-consumer. So, and that's our update from DWP.
Anything else?
Yeah, it's still hard for me to believe that there's no way we can get beyond 10%. That's obviously a significant savings because we use so much paper. But can we change our equipment? Is there no way we can get beyond 10%, which still sounds like a relatively minuscule percentage?
Yeah, it's even that the 10% was very difficult to obtain. We're one of the very few utilities that are even using recycled paper for our bill prints. These are 1-ton rolls of paper that we get, and we had to find a mill to produce it for us specifically. It's not something that's readily available, so 10% was what they could do. The higher amount of recycled materials will produce excessive paper dust, then it gets into the remittance equipment, and then it doesn't read the checks. And the mail equipment produces extra dust. They cannot function correctly. So it just increases the maintenance and the wear and tear on the equipment. And the current equipment that we have, they did an extensive research. There was nobody who could support more than 10%. So they spent a lot of time looking into it. And it was harmful to the equipment and to the employees as well, because it was producing way too much dust. So we had to settle for 10%.
Now, I know Councilmember Blumenfield and I also asked for an effort to push more to online billing as a way to reduce this. How are those efforts going, and what can we do to make it more extensive?
I'll give an update on that. As of now, 13% of our customers are using online billing, so it's a continued process. When new customers can sign up, they can do it online. So we're moving in that direction of increasing the numbers. So there's an improvement going on compared to what it was.
And I understand that LAWA has not adopted the city's environmentally preferable products ordinance even up until now. Is that accurate, and what is preventing that, if that's correct?
Hi, good afternoon. Tamara Crossan from LAWA. LAWA has not adopted an environmentally preferable purchasing policy, but for over 2 decades, LAWA has been promoting the use of environmentally and socially responsible products in its operations, and is committed to increasing the use of such products. Actually, we are currently working on a policy for our executive to consider and hopefully to go to the board. And we're happy to come back and update you on the status of that policy. But as far as complying with the ordinance, LAWA recently submitted its EPP report to the Bureau of Sanitation. And some of the highlights are in the recycled content paper purchases. We established a 10% pricing preference for bids on recycled paper products. And in 2015-16 fiscal year, we purchased over 688 tons of paper and 421 tons of copier paper that were at least 30% post-consumer recycled content. And 39% of those were actually Green Seal certified. So we're working very hard to continue our success, especially with the recycled content, the paper products. As far as plastic bags, 100% of the plastic bags that we purchase contain 30% post-consumer recycled content, and we've been doing that since 2010. And that was 151 tons of recycled content plastic bags. Hand soap, 100% of the hand soap that we purchase for use in the terminals and in our administrative facilities are also Green Seal certified. And we continue to add environmentally preferred purchasing language into our contracts, especially for cleaning products. And we've also developed and written EPP specifications for use in all bids and all RFPs and RFQs. And so we're working on getting those into all of the RFQs and the RFPs and all bids. And in fiscal year 15 and 16, 78% of IT equipment procurement contracts included these EPP sustainability clauses. And that was an 11% increase over fiscal year 2014, 2015. So we hope to just keep increasing, adding the language to our bids and to our contracts across all of our operations.
And are we still buying natural gas fueled vehicles? Because we know there's obviously pluses and minuses to those, and especially the impact of methane on our environment and climate.
So we have a very large fleet of natural gas sedans, but I believe in 2015 Honda stopped making those sedans, and we have not purchased any additional sedans. We're currently looking at joining a state bid for purchasing the Bolts to replace our fleet of sedans. As far as heavy-duty equipment, we continue to look at natural gas because that is for especially the heavy-duty equipment, that's one of the only options. I'm not aware of any recent purchases of natural gas vehicles, but I know that we do evaluate that, especially for heavy-duty equipment.
So are there no heavy-duty electric vehicles that are available on the market these days?
You know, we have experience not in our fleet. Actually, that's not true. We have been evaluating electric buses, especially for the airfield operations, and we just recently did a pilot test of electric buses on the airfield. We will be going out to bid, I think, within the next year for new airfield buses, and I believe that will include some electric buses. So in the heavy-duty sector, buses are available in electric. In other applications, our experience, especially with some of our commercial operators, is they've had difficulty procuring electric vehicles that meet the power requirements that they need, and I'm thinking especially of the catering trucks. One of our catering companies piloted an electric catering truck, and it just did not meet the requirements, especially the lift functions. They were just very underpowered.
So something hopefully for us to watch out for the future as technology continues to improve, but not necessarily available to us yet.
Yes, I think where we're going to see a big movement is in the sedans and the light duty. And I think hopefully LABA will have some very good news to report soon, especially in the light duty electric vehicle sector.
And how do we rate products? Do we take into account yet the entire life cycle of a product? And as we look at their green ratings and their costs, do we look at all of that, or do we still just look at the bottom line price?
We're trying to incorporate more of a life cycle approach into our EPP purchases, and what we've been relying on are some of the certifications. The Forest Stewardship Council, I believe, takes life cycle into consideration in Green Seal. That's something that we'll be working on when we draft our policy.
And also, I have some questions for sanitation. Do we have sanitation staff here to answer questions that would probably be under number 10, which we're taking together? And my question would be, if you had to grade city departments in their efforts to comply with the environmentally preferable purchasing policy, what would you rate us as a group, as a city?
Karen Koka, Bureau of Sanitation. Well, I have to say that's a pretty complicated answer to that question. The purchasing system in the city is both centralized and diffuse. We have large contracts used by everyone under general services, plus they handle a lot of bid and awards, but many city agencies do their own. We educate, but tracking it right now is pretty difficult. The new system, the new purchasing system that GSD is actually training folks on right now, and we will be following that up with an EPP training as well, actually will give us our first opportunity to capture all the EPP purchasing and attributes in the new system. So we'll be able to more easily see what overall folks are purchasing that are EPP products. As you know, there's a range of positive attributes that we want in the products we buy. So I'm afraid I can't give us a grade at this time.
But you think this new system should be a significant improvement in this arena as well?
I think that, yes, we've been waiting with bated breath for that system to be implemented. As you know, large IT systems take a really long time to develop, but we're very excited because it's been a challenge for us to gather that purchasing information. Another one of the things that we've been talking about a lot lately, so this is very timely, is reinvigorating our citywide working group that we used to have with general services, some of the major departments, to make sure that we're on top of when they develop specs for products so that they know what's out there that may be more environmentally preferable. Because, again, a lot of the purchasing is diffuse. Staff prepares specs for a product, they put it out to bid, they get it back. They don't necessarily always know what the EPP products are. So I think with more information sharing and with your support, I think that we can make a lot of progress in this next fiscal year.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone else has questions or comments.
I have one follow-up.
Mr. O'Farrell? Yeah.
One follow-up question. Back to DWP and your paperless billing, so it's at 13%. Do we know, is there an existing industry standard for that, other municipalities? I'm sure these efforts are ongoing in other major cities.
I'd have to go back and check on that. In terms of what we did check is in terms of what similar utilities are doing, and Edison's doing essentially the same as us, is providing, essentially an opportunity for people when they sign up at this point. So no, I don't know specifically if there's an industry.
It'd be interesting to see what their percentage is, because that, to me, a 13% participation in paperless billing seems like a glaring opportunity, especially with the explosion of online everything. That number just seems way out of sync with modern times. So maybe we could figure out an industry standard and set a goal and then manage and measure against that goal.
Okay, we'll follow up.
It seemed like a clear opportunity.
Thank you.
Mr. Bronson?
Two things. One, along those lines, and we've talked about this in other committees about this, we could do an incentive program to make that happen. I mean, we get a certain amount of money save a certain amount of money by having them go paperless, and sometimes it costs money to make money, and even if we had a 20% savings for 2 bills if you go paperless, and then the people are hooked at that point, something like that. I don't know, but certainly I agree with my colleagues that it seems low, just in today's day and age. Second, unrelated to that question, on the environmentally purchasing policy, preferable purchasing policy, a lot of alliteration there. Is any of that reflected in the open data? Like, with our open data portals, you can see where every dime in the city, where it's been spent. Has there ever been a thought of having a data set that's also part of our open data that includes, what's environmentally?
Council member, I'm not currently aware of anything that is tracked on open data. I think it will be much easier once we can implement the new purchasing system, and we'll actually be able to track those items very closely. It'll be a lot easier to see what the different departments and the city as a whole is doing.
Okay, I guess we'll put a pin in that, but I'm definitely going to come back to that as we
Okay.
look at this further, because I would love to see as the new system comes online, to make sure that we do something on the front end so that it's easy to plug into the open data system on the back end, so that it's very clear, and ultimately we'll have a record we can be proud of, and that will be reflected in our open data portals. But it's not going to happen unless we think about it in advance and make sure that it's easy to tag, so that when it goes, all that data gets spit into the open data. It's accessible.
We will follow up on that.
Great, thank you.
Anything else, members? Mr. Koretz?
I'd like to make a motion that we note and file the reports and request LAWA, the Harbor Department, and DWP to provide annual reports on the status of their compliance with the EPP and ongoing annual step improvements with reports modeled after the Bureau of Sanitation's annual EPP report, and be submitted to the council no later than 90 days following the close of each fiscal year. And I further would like to move that we note and file the Bureau of Sanitation report and instruct the Bureau of Sanitation to provide annual reports on the status of city department compliance with the EPP, and also ask that those reports be done annually, no later than 90 days following the close of each fiscal year as well. And lastly, I'd like to ask that we get a report back on how to include a life cycle or carbon footprint analysis in the assessment of a product's true costs.
Okay, I'm happy to second that. Are there any objections, members? No. Seeing none, that'll be the order. Thank you very much. That concludes items on, did you have anything to add, Mr. Koretz? No?
No, I think this is an exciting step forward. I'm glad that
We
we're doing
finally got your motions out of committee.
Thank you.
So that's good. We're moving right along. So seeing no other items on the agenda, members, I'd like to adjourn. Great, thank you very much.
Free Dr. Dog.